This is Friendly Fire.
But I'm still reading the trailer. I honestly, Dickie helmet and all, I am thinking he's really the hero of this piece.
You heard it here first. Welcome back to another episode of Friendly Fire. I'm here, Dylan, with
Scott.
my friend and Sith Lord, Scott. He's
Bow to the dark side.
he's going for the old Kylo Ren there.
Look,
just on personality.
Personality, style as well. I mean, that lightsaber's cool. Not the most practical in most senses, but
I feel like you cut a lot of fingers off by accident.
No, not really. It's based. It's very interesting behind the scenes because he's very much a European fencing type sword.
Mm-hmm.
You know, long sword, any sort of medieval sword. Whereas the lightsabers have traditionally been based off katana and Japanese sword fighting. So it's an interesting break.
Well, they can't be based off of that because Star Wars happened a long time ago.
Yeah, well,
Galaxy far, far away.
They took their influences because they could see the future because they're Jedi, all right?
The Force told them how to craft.
The Force did, yeah. Okay. But it's practical in a sword fight. It's just, it's more a dueling weapon than anything else.
It looks cool.
It does look badass.
So in case you hadn't guessed, we're going to talk about all things Star Wars this week. We're going to, obviously, The Last Jedi is coming out next week, which we should probably get our tickets to some stage. But, yeah, we're going to touch on the movie, sort of what our thoughts are around it, and how this, I guess, whole trilogy is going to play out. And because we're predominantly gaming on this channel, we're going to discuss the future of Star Wars games and the past and what we've currently got. The present. Just everything Star Wars games. So, firstly, though, we will continue our conversation on the movie. Now, this movie. I don't know, I think this movie's going to be... It's going to be okay. It's not going to be the best Star Wars movie.
I actually, traditionally, the second one in the trilogy... Well, okay, I'm basing this off Empire. Because, honestly, Attack of the Clones, while good, was not my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to ramp up to a high point.
I think if you're going from the prequels, I think Revenge of the Sith has...
Oh, it was the best.
It has to be the best, because it's...
The stakes were high, the action was good, the emotion... Everything just came to a head there, figuratively and... Literally.
Quick disclosure, Scott and I are prequel lovers. We're the only two on the planet, but that's...
And everyone unsubscribed.
So. Yeah, so unsubscribe, leave your hate in the chat and dislike everything.
I didn't mind Empire. Of the original trilogy, Empire is obviously my favourite. A New Hope was far too poorly paced. And I really hate Return of the Jedi. It doesn't make sense to me at any point. Nothing. It just sort of feels like just a drop off a cliff for me. I love Rogue One.
The thing I dislike the most, I think, about... I think the thing I hate the most about them is, like, I would love to go back and watch them today, but every time I start watching it, I get bored, just because of the pacing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to fast forward through it, like... Because what am I going to fast forward to? Another slow scene? I don't know, like...
It really...
It just frustrates me.
Watching Rogue One actually doesn't help it. It actually... Because it's got the modern pacing. You come from action to just slow. I mean, that scroll with the Star Destroyer slowly coming across our screen is cool. It is a remarkable shot. It's too long.
The thing I don't understand now is that, like, everybody that's out there that's saying the originals are the best, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. People are, like, nowadays so impatient when it comes to everything. Like, it takes 5 minutes of a video on YouTube or of a movie till somebody will be on their phone looking through Twitter or Facebook. Like, people's attention span is so small. how do people still like these movies? Like, I think
It's nothing to do with the Star Wars, honestly.
I think I've still got a pretty good attention span. I can sit down and watch a movie and not care about what's on my phone or paying attention to something else. But there's a lot of people that will be like, yeah, okay, I'm bored. Like,
I think Star Wars is in itself nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best Star Wars for you is actually always going to be whatever you watched as a kid.
yeah.
So we will see a third generation in 5-10 years' time that will swear black and blue, this trilogy is the best.
Yeah.
They probably won't be wrong, but...
See, the thing is, now, I may not have told you this before, but this is really interesting. I, as a kid, I didn't really know what Star Wars was, but I was like... Everyone sort of talked about the original Star Wars movies because they were so epic. And I kind of was like, this is something I want to watch, but I was young and like my parents didn't have it and I was like, never really watched it. I went around to a friend's place for a weekend and Revenge of the Sith must have just come out on DVD. And he got it for his birthday or something like that. And he was like, oh, let's watch this movie. And I was like, oh, the Star Wars. That's a thing that is cool.
See, I feel like I know you did this just because this is you.
And I'm sitting there watching it, bored out of my brain, because I've got no idea of any context of the Star Wars. And you start off with the Revenge of the Sith, and...
It's not a jumping off point. It's not.
Like, wait, what's the start of that movie? Is that General Grievous? Or is that the second?
No, it starts with the attack. They come down into that space battle. Grievous, Dooku, who you've got no context of.
Yeah.
And they're talking about past meetings, which is even funnier watching that after you've seen like the Clone Wars trilogy, Clone Wars series and all that. It's like...
So this is my introduction to Star Wars, is the third episode. And
sixth, if you...
Yeah, well, however you want to say it. But, so, I'm sitting there, just bored out of my brain. But the thing is, I don't know what happened to my friend on this weekend, but he was just exhausted. So he fell asleep during it. I'm not sure if he saw it at the movies and had already seen it, and he fell asleep. So I'm sitting there like, what are you going to do at your friend's place when he falls asleep? I'm like sitting there watching it. And then he wakes up and he's like, oh man, I fell asleep. Let's watch it again. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, so I've had this and I think we probably watched it 3 or 4 times in the weekend. And
we've all done that.
And I've had this movie just on repeat in my head.
Did he actually watch the entire thing?
I don't know. At the end of it, I felt like I should quiz him because I probably knew more about the episode than he did. However, it's still my favourite episode of all time. And now that I have the context, I still really like that episode.
You would not believe the amount of times I've watched that.
Yeah.
But I've only watched the originals like probably half a dozen times.
Yeah. So,
which seems like a lot, but... It's really not.
We don't need to talk about all the old ones right now because we're talking about the new one that's coming out. So, the second movie, I think what the expectation is to build to the third movie and build off of the first movie. Like, it can still be a good movie on its own, but it's not going to get to a point where you're like, okay, well, that was a great movie. Like, I don't ever need to see another Star Wars movie again. There's obviously going to be something leading on. Like, that's how a trilogy works.
The danger here is that they follow suit with what they did in The Force Awakens.
Yep.
And copy... I mean...
you're talking about A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Follow suit with that.
Yeah, the danger... Because what they did was Force Awakens, basically, it took the story to a different place... But the story was the same as A New Hope. Like, if you watched one and then the other, basically the same.
Yep.
So the danger here is doing the exact same thing. I mean, we've already seen very... Well, not super similar, but you can see the imagery in the trailer. You've got those big Kong-like walkers that look eerily similar to the dog walkers from... I don't know what the AT-ATs actually look like, but... in terms of animal.
Yeah.
And then, but just the imagery you see in those scenes in the trailer. I mean, it's like 2 scenes. You can't really judge it. It seems it's okay to arc back to it.
I think, and we've discussed this before, but just for our listeners, I think it's fine what they did with The Force Awakens because they were playing to a really big nostalgia card. There's obviously kids that we all went to see The Force Awakens together. I had my dad beside me, and he saw the originals when he was a kid, and now, or when he was growing up, and now for us to go and see a Star Wars movie together where he gets context of the originals that he saw when he was younger, and I get context of the originals and the new one as well. It's kind of like a cool little connection that you can have. Like, I know in the theater we were in, as soon as the music started playing, everyone just started cheering because it was just like Star Wars is back.
It was.
But you can't just recreate. It's not a recreation.
No, if you want to do a New Hope, Empire, all that again, go ahead.
Which they wouldn't. They would redo the prequels because they're the ones that everybody hates.
People will murder you if you do it, but go ahead.
Yeah.
But that is the real fear. That's my only real fear with this movie, is it becomes a better version. Arguably, Force Awakens is a better version of New Hope. It fixes a lot of the problems I had with A New Hope. The characters themselves, for the most part, are better. I mean, I still like Han. Han was probably the best part of the original trilogy. But a better version of Empire is not going to cut it.
No. And the thing is, they've got, Finn is quite unique in, he hasn't... I guess you've had sort of good to bad, bad to good sort of previously, but you haven't had the whole Stormtrooper sort of arc. There's something unique about him, and their characters are quite unique. Even Poe is it Poe?
Poe is
quite unique and
best part of the new movies.
Yeah,
I loved him.
Yeah, I think Poe's really good as well.
He was They are similar.
So they've got good characters. It's just how they dispose of the old characters.
Well,
that sounds like taking out the trash. But how they do that, which they did well with Han, I think.
That was fitting. I think...
Wait, spoilers? No, come on. It's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years and it's Star Wars. If you haven't seen it, fuck you. I think... Well, Leia's obviously going to die in this one. I think hers is going to be a little more fiery. Pardon the pun.
She's getting cremated.
Well, possibly. Luke will be interesting. Because he is, he was the main character of the original series. It'll be interesting to see how he dies. I guarantee he's going to be dead by the end of the next movie.
You think so?
I think...
See, the thing is, I am probably the number one hater for Luke in the originals.
Get in line with him.
But, surprisingly... It's nothing against Mark Hamill. I think he's great.
If you've seen any of the Joker or anything,
I think
he
he's
is
great.
Amazing.
But
Luke is a bitch.
I just didn't like Luke. However, now I really am more interested in Luke's character because he's posing more of an Obi-Wan role, which Obi-Wan was one of my favorite characters in the prequels, not in the originals. In the originals, he was a little bitch that sort of just
he didn't
died.
do a lot.
So I actually wouldn't mind if he took on the Obi-Wan / Yoda role and became a bit of a mentor and sort of stuck around. I wouldn't care so much if he was around by the end of the last one.
I feel like, he's going to be a bit more active than either Yoda or Obi-Wan was in the original, not overall.
Yoda was pretty active in the prequels.
He was. And that's part of the reason I like it. But I feel like he needs to die. Not from a I don't like him point of view, just from a while he's alive, he's still...
Who's going to kill him?
I don't know if he's going to be killed by a person or
just going to fall off a cliff.
Die.
He realizes
somehow.
that his island's run out of food.
He realizes that he died 30 years ago and whatever. No, I don't know how he's going to die.
You reckon Rey's talking to a hologram?
No, Rey's gone nuts in the desert and she's sitting there watching fish rain.
She's just inside the starfighter or whatnot.
88. This is all in Ray's head.
Bold predictions.
I feel like...
Well, that's the only reason she could have fought as well against Kylo.
Yes, because she's Mary Sue, literally. I feel like he has to die just to bring it into the new generation.
Do we see... what's her name? Is it Maz? Or
Maz? Maz?
Do we see her again?
I think we have to, because there's too many unanswered questions.
A lot of history happening
the
there.
box she took the lightsaber out of was the same one that Obi-Wan had on Tatooine. The lightsaber she somehow fished out of the bowels of Bespin. I mean, the mining platform on Bespin. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but it's not easy to find a lightsaber there.
Yeah, because now this will sort of lead into the games side of things, but there's actually quite a sort of emphasis on her and that area in Battlefront 2, which could just be that it was a pretty iconic part from...
It was one of the major locations for Force Awakens, but I feel like she's almost the Yoda of this series.
Yep.
But we don't know anything about her. I feel like we have to see her just because there's too many unanswered questions.
Yep. Okay, well, this is a gaming channel, so let's start talking about the games a little bit. Did we go through all of our... That's sort of about everything for this movie coming, isn't it? Is there anything else you wanted to wrap up? I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good movie. I don't think it's going to suck. I hope it doesn't suck. And I think Kylo dies.
I feel like...
Kidding.
I feel like he's not going to die, but I don't think he's going to be the same by the end of this trilogy.
Oh, is he going to be on the desert too?
I feel like he's in his own sort of weird desert, or maybe he doesn't exist, or whatever. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Kylo.
Look, I just want there to be a scene where he goes in and kills a whole bunch of Padawans. Luke's been training all these kids on his island, and then Kylo's just like...
I feel like that's been done. I feel like he needs to kill a bunch of Jedi puppies.
He's just like, come on. Gotta follow in my grandfather's footsteps.
I feel like he's already done that. We just didn't get to see it.
I don't know. Did Granddad kill his dad? No.
Yes. No. He didn't have a father. Anakin didn't have a dad.
Yes, that's because Anakin...
Well, he...
is Jesus.
You're not probably far off. Depending on what version you believe, he was either created by the Force or created by Palpatine's master or Palpatine or some shit. So
the Force, which is God. The Force into Mary.
Now that's some dangerous erotic you're reading there, mate.
Oh, sorry, maybe that wasn't canon what I was reading. Let's move on to video games, shall we? So there's a couple of Star Wars video games that you can currently play if you like. If you have a mobile device like most of the world, you can play Galaxy of Heroes. Scott, you play this video game.
I have played this video game. Currently playing it is no. It's interesting.
How does it rate on the scale of Pokemon Go to... What's another game on mobile?
Plague Inc.
Plague.
About in the middle, really. It's not. It's
which one's at the top?
Plague Inc.'s at the top.
Okay.
Pokemon Go, for being all it was not a great game.
Okay.
It just was popular. It's fun.
What do you do? What's the premise?
You have a team of dudes. It's sort of like a turn-based strategy game.
Okay.
So
like Final Fantasy.
Little bit, but very watered down.
Mm-hmm.
It's very microtransaction driven.
Okay. So it's an EA game.
It is. You have characters. You can unlock other characters. You can upgrade them. It's not bad. You don't have to spend money on it.
Is it time based if you don't want to spend money? Like, do you have to wait for things?
Yeah, you have like... I don't know what the currency is, but you can use like...
Crystals. Let's call it crystals.
Yeah, so you can... Like, each mission costs a certain amount to do. So you can do
you can grind for that, or you just have to wait?
I think you generate them back, but you grind for like the cart, the shards or whatever it is to upgrade your characters or unlock new characters. It's very much a grind.
Yeah.
If you're into a mobile game, give it a go. It's not too bad.
Okay. The Old Republic online MMO. I've never played this.
I did play this.
I'm not gonna lie.
I liked it. It is an MMO. It's more a World of Warcraft than a Destiny.
Yep.
They brought story into it, like you have.
So the story of this is based. Now I read up on this because I was making sure. So this is based like 3,000 years before.
It's also non-canon.
Okay.
It's non-canon. It falls in part of that Legends area. It follows on from KOTOR 1 and 2. It's about 3,600 years before A New Hope. So Star Wars universe, or at least in the Legends universe, uses Battle of Yavin is basically 0. It's
so basically, Galaxy of Heroes is nothing as well, isn't it? It's not related to anything.
I would assume it's non-canon because it's got no story. It's
okay.
not. It's just...
So Galaxy of Heroes and Old Republic mean nothing for this movie or like anything to do with this trilogy.
It all depends on what Disney wants to bring back in, because it's not Disney who owns Old Republic, I don't think.
So
I don't know.
They're Star Wars experiences, but they're nothing that's going to
not affect this movie or not.
Yeah.
No way is it connecting, mate. Yeah. Other than some very distant, correlation. It's not cool. It's too far away to have had any direct effect.
Yeah. Okay, so the game that is more tied in with what we're actually talking about now is Battlefront 2, which is the hated game that nobody wants to play or buy.
Which we did, and
we all purchased it because it was like half of retail price. We were like, why not? Like, we know microtransactions are turned off, which we weren't really affected by. It didn't bother us when we played the beta. We knew that we were going into it for an experience that we weren't going to love, but maybe enjoy.
Yeah, I'm not, for $50, I'm not disappointed. Yeah. For $100, I would have been very disappointed.
Australian prices, if you're thinking American, you're probably thinking like we spent it $30.
Yeah, about that.
So, they have just kicked off the Last Jedi season. Well, it's not completely kicked off yet, but Scott, I'll get you to read through this because I'm terrible at reading.
Much better.
If you want to just go through that.
So basically, it all starts with you choosing a side,
which we've done.
Which we've done, but I don't understand why that wasn't there to begin with, given that it's only been 2 weeks.
Anyway.
So you choose a side, either the First Order or the Resistance.
Yep.
And your choice is apparently important because it allows you to take part in special challenges, which will unlock specific rewards for your faction.
So basically it's going to be similar to if you played probably a lot of games, but like For Honor, where you choose a faction and then everyone in that faction plays, and whichever faction does the most of something, like challenges or get something, will get a special reward at the end of the season. It's basically going to work like Rainbow Six Siege or For Honor, where you have seasons. This is the Last Jedi season.
Except we never saw the end of a For Honor season.
We didn't, but I did log in, I think, in the second season, and we won the first season, and I don't know what I got. But
magic?
It didn't matter because I wasn't playing the game. So then what do we got here? So this is when it actually starts, December 13th.
So your favourite Stormtrooper turned hero, Finn. Well, he's the only Stormtrooper turned hero.
Yes, hence why he's your favourite.
Except for Kyle Katarn, who's not in canon, so I'm not allowed to fight. Joins the fight for the Resistance, and Captain Phasma, and pretty much everyone else on the light side because they're all linked somehow. And Captain Phasma steps into battle for the First Order again, and the CIS and the Empire, because you can do that in this game.
Yeah, okay, so this clears up, this next line clears up.
So they can be purchased with in-game credits. We were actually discussing before this, whether they're unlocked by winning those awards.
So from that week, you can purchase it. So after December 13th, you'll be able to purchase them with credits, which I assume they're probably going to be 5,000 to 10,000 each.
I'd reckon that'd be 5 because they're not if you look at what else is in the 5 category, they're probably that.
Well, the thing is, Rey and Kylo were free with the game.
Rey and Kylo were free, but you got Palpatine as 10.
But I'm just thinking like from the new, like we don't have anything really to base it off.
No, but if you look at sort of that caliber of...
Yeah, I'd say maybe because they're special, they might put them in there as 10, but... No idea.
I would say they're going to be 5, but it'll be interesting to be proven wrong, like I will be. So credits from that week. Whichever faction is victorious in completing most challenges, I think it must be a weekly season, a weekly challenge thing.
So I could bring up the website, but basically if you're interested, if you're playing Battlefront, if you go onto the Battlefront website, they have there's like multiple different challenges. So like in this the first week when it starts out, I think this weekend at the time of filming this, they have like a blast challenge or something. So I guess you'll probably see matchmaking might sort of stray more towards where the challenges are, which may or may not be a good thing depending on what you want to play. It might be forcing you to play different modes that you're not really interested in.
It is hard to play the other modes, so other than Galactic Assault. And
so maybe that will help that, so you can play it, have a little bit of variation.
Fingers crossed, because they are actually some fun modes. So you'll unlock if your team wins, you unlock
a special crate.
Because everything comes in fucking crates.
Of high power upgrades for Finn or Captain Phasma, so they're not really going to help you that much.
So they're not going to help you. So they unlock shit for you to then go and buy, which you can't go and buy with real money, so you got to grind the shit out of it, which actually it doesn't take that long to get 5,000 credits.
It's not too bad.
10,000 credits.
No, I've spent plenty of credits on
I've spent so many on crates.
Okay.
So we'll have new locations, obviously, from The Last Jedi.
Yep.
So we got Crate, which is an Starfighter Assault map.
Which is funny because it's Crate, and all of the crates in the game.
I'm getting a very Witcher 3 vibe, just because one of the characters was called Crate.
I was just thinking because they have all these loot crates they have to get the next planet in has to be called Crate.
And it is just
you have to actually unlock it with a crate.
It's
a crate.
Yeah, it's a crate, and you have to get a crate on it. It's just full of crates.
This crate is spelled Crait.
So we got Dakar,
which is a Starfighter Assault map.
So what was... so Crate is a planetary map. I read that wrong.
Yes.
His fault.
No. So that'll be like Galactic Assault or something.
Yeah, which will be interesting.
What is Crate? Do you know this planet?
It's not a planet I've ever heard of.
So it must be in Last Jedi.
It has to be Last Jedi.
Yes.
I assume it's going to be the planet, if you've seen the trailer where they're in that sort of white planet and the ships are coming along and kicking up that red dirt.
Yeah, I remember that.
I assume it's that world, so... I mean, it seems like it would, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm probably wrong.
Yep.
So we get a new hero ship. Tali Lintra, who I've never heard of.
New character, I guess.
It's her RZ2 A-Wing, so it's an upgraded A-Wing.
I like A-Wings. They're better than the X-Wings.
They're faster than the X-Wings, and they do have a lock-on missile, so that is useful.
I like the look of X-Wings, but
the X-Wing, especially Pose, which gets upgraded with a new ability inspired by The Last Jedi. Interesting to see
what's he gonna do that's special?
I don't know, kill people, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
So Iden Versio returns in Star Wars Battlefront 2 Resurrection. Didn't know she was dead.
So this is... she didn't die.
I know, but resurrection implies death.
This is interesting. So, I don't really care for spoilers at this point. I know you haven't played it yet, but...
I don't care.
When we get to the end of the campaign, which is lackluster, not much really happens with Iden. She's sort of like hugging and kissing her friend, and then it's like, cool. And then you go through and you play as Kylo for a bit, and you go and kill a bunch of people, and you basically get an information out of her friend. I'm forgetting his name. I think it's...
John.
No, it's like... I feel
Is it
like
Miro?
No, it's like
Miko?
it's like it's a stupid name. It's like Do or something like that.
Dolph? Danny?
Del. Del is his name. Del.
Like the computers.
DEL. No, just one L. Not double L.
So he's not a computer.
Not a computer. So that's probably still wrong, but we're going to roll with it. Del. So you basically break him down because Kylo's looking for Luke, and Del had a experience where he got very close to Luke in the game, and
Very close.
they used the Force a little bit.
In Mary?
And so basically, there's a little bit of stipulation about a child, which I'm assuming Iden and Del had a child, which was a girl, which is Rey, but they don't tell you it's Rey.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong there.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure
It would be ridiculous for them to be like, and Rey's parents are these from the video game.
I assume she's actually Tylee Lintra.
Anyway, probably. Why is the name not Versio?
Or why is it not whatever Del's last name is?
Del Lintra, what a stupid name.
Oh, Delintra.
Anyway, so, not much really happens at the end. Obviously, because they realized that the story wasn't finished. And what are we going to put in all these seasons? Let's add some of that story to the season.
Yeah, but...
Because I was saying to you at the time of finishing it, it was such a stupid ending. Like, it just didn't resolve anything.
Oh, it's not over. Which again, back to the... It's been out 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is. Why the fuck are you adding new story now?
Yes.
Why couldn't it have been added then?
Yes.
I mean, I get that movie's not out then.
I guess that's the only reason, but really, is there going to be spoilers? I don't think so.
Not in that level of campaign. Not the campaign that we've seen.
I don't think so. So, what's it say? You'll join Commander Iden Versio. She's on the good side, by the way, now working with the Rebels, if you didn't know that already. During the days of the First Order's rise to power.
So this is post... Return of the Jedi. So she's not with the Rebels, she's with whatever the Resistance is, the Republic, or whoever they become.
What were they called here?
Well, they were Resistance, but I feel like...
They must be Resistance.
Which I don't get. I hope that's actually explained in Last Jedi. Why they're the Resistance...
Because they're resisting.
They're resisting, but why isn't it just the Republic? Like,
No.
why is it a splinter group who are...
No, because we had the Old Republic, we got the New Republic, we need the Resistance.
Yeah, but the Republic exists in Force Awakens.
No.
It doesn't exist now. A lot of them got blown up. But that is something I hope is explained why it's the Resistance, other than the fact that Leia's running it and they needed to basically have the Rebel Alliance.
What I'm saying is she was a rebel, now she's a Resistance, or now she's whatever she is. And yeah, basically you can keep playing the single player story, which is a worthwhile experience. I definitely recommend.
Could you say that with any more sarcasm?
One of the best campaigns I played 2017.
That you know, for a...
I didn't play many campaigns in 2017. One of the best. Also one of the worst.
It's a campaign. That's pretty much all I can say about it.
It's a multiplayer campaign. Single player. Multiplayer campaign.
And it actually plays like that. That's how it runs.
And then guess what? Your choice of faction will continue to matter.
Bullshit.
Throughout December, you'll see your chosen faction's progress reflected in-game as you fight alongside allies from around the world.
Until it's reset, and then you have to do it all again. It's not going to matter. It doesn't mean shit.
Matters for the season. Anyway, if you're not interested in Star Wars Battlefront 2 at all, we understand. And that's why we're going to talk about some games of the past.
I have played most of these.
I know you have.
Except for...
I haven't. So I've got a list here of Star Wars games from the past. I've not included every Star Wars game because the list would go on forever.
There are a lot of them.
Also, we haven't played all the Star Wars games ever. I have played pod racing on the Nintendo 64. It was incredible. But we're not going to talk about those sorts of things. We're basically talking from original Xbox generation going forward, basically. And
you still haven't got all of those.
Not all of them, no. We've just got the ones that I know a little bit about or I thought you would know something about. Because I don't know everything about all of these games here, but I knew you would know something. So, this is just the order I've put it in. It's not date of release. It's not anything. It's just an order, okay? Don't freak out. First one on this list I've got is Knights of the Old Republic, which is now backwards compatible on Xbox One.
Except if you're in Australia.
But not in Australia, that we can find.
Which it was stupid because it was the release photo for backwards compatible on Xbox.
However, Knights of the Old Republic, I really don't remember playing this game. I wanted it to be backwards compatible for us so I could just download it and see if I remembered it.
I feel like you didn't play it.
I don't think I did. I feel like I would have remembered it.
It is, if you get it, if it becomes backwards compatible, I would thoroughly recommend getting it. It is probably one of the best Star Wars games
I think
of all
it
time.
won't hold up well if I do play it. I think it'll be okay.
Graphically, no.
Well, they did enhance it to some extent, but it's not going to be.
Graphically, it will not hold up.
I feel like gameplay is never going to hold up because I play old games and a lot of the time it's very sticky and...
No, well, it's not a straight shooter. It's very much, if you've played... I keep bringing it up and I know you haven't played it. Something like Baldur's Gate. Mm-hmm. It's got very D&D elements to it. Okay. It's an RPG. Combat, you can pause it and, select who you're going to attack, what you're going to do. It's more a strategic game than a straight shooter. So I feel like gameplay is going to hold up.
That sort of sounds a bit more... I've said it before, but like Final Fantasy or something, where it's like a little bit more RPG in that sense, where
it is definitely very
maybe not turn-based, but
it's not turn-based,
but like in that sense, like you can play a Final Fantasy game and it feels like it hasn't really aged because of the style of the game.
I thoroughly recommend playing it for anyone.
If it comes on backwards compatible, I'll buy it. Just to play it, just to see if I did play it, but I don't remember it.
Story was really good.
I know people said it's incredible.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is probably my favourite Star Wars game of all time.
You can spoil it if you want. It's an old game.
Revan's the best!
And then we have Knights of the Old Republic 2,
which
Sith Lords.
A lot of people like it better. I personally do not.
I think Kristan liked it better, but I don't know
from a technical standpoint, everything they did in the first one, they did better. Mm-hmm. Graphically, it's better.
Is the story not as good?
Runs better. No, the story is where it falls down for me. The every mechanic that they had in the first one, they've taken and just made better. Like from a technical aspect, it is far better than the Old Republic.
Yep.
The Old Republic is a better story.
Okay, cool. We're just going to go through all of these as we're discussing them now. Once we come back, I'll just get you to reflect on what sort of your favourites, even if maybe Knights of the Old Republic is
I think I've already done that.
But we'll just maybe discuss what made them special and why these games haven't sort of been released again or something like them. So then the next one I've got on the list is Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. I played this one. I do remember this one.
So... Interestingly, looking at your list, you've got Academy and Outcast, which are the same series. So it goes... Because there's two games before it. Dark Knight and... There's a second Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2.
Okay.
They're telling the story of Kyle Katarn, who's basically a better version of Finn. Mm-hmm. It's basically the Rogue One story.
Okay.
From an FPS style game.
Yeah.
It's also the story of a guy who didn't know he was a Jedi becoming a Jedi. I've not played the Dark Forces series. I started at Outcast and went forward.
So I played Academy and I actually really enjoyed this game. And I don't know if people did like it or didn't like it, but it was kind of one of the first Star Wars games I played other than like pod racing on N64, and I really enjoyed it. It was cool to play with like the lightsaber and stuff for the first time, which I hadn't done before. But I haven't played Outcast.
Honestly, Outcast, look, having not played the Dark Forces, I don't know how the story stacks up. It's more of a revenge tale than in a lot of ways than... Because Academy, you're not Kyle, you're Kyle's apprentice, which I really liked Academy better than Outcast because you could put your own character, like some version of your own character. It was very limited customization.
But it was customization.
But you could put your own character in a Star Wars story, and it was very well done.
Yep.
I've on Academy, another one of my favorites. Will not stack up. It's one of those ones.
Yes.
Gameplay, graphics doesn't stack up. Even if you re-released it, redid it all, you could make a very good game from it. As it is, it's not something that will stack up on it.
Then I've got on here Republic Commando, which
I played a little.
I don't think I played this. I remember seeing it and being like, oh, that looks really cool, because at the time we were playing Halo and those sorts of games, and we were like, oh, cool, a Star Wars FPS. Like, that'd be cool. And I watched a video of it this morning as I was typing this list up, because I was like, man, I wonder if that was any good. It was actually rated reasonably well, but just looking back on it, I was like, wow, that doesn't look great.
Interestingly enough, at the time it came out, this was one of the games I always wanted to play.
Yep.
But back then, when you're a younger kid, you prioritize your games.
Yes.
And that was just one I never got a chance to get or play.
I feel like it was one that I would have, like, rented or something, but I just...
It was PC only is the thing.
Was it? I'm sure I saw it on Xbox.
It might have been. I don't think it is. I actually picked up a copy on Steam recently, and I don't know whether it was just the fact that the Steam controls weren't... My controller wasn't optimized or whatever it was. It just didn't seem to handle very well.
Maybe that was the thing about it. Yeah, maybe.
It didn't stack...
It says platforms, Xbox, Microsoft.
Maybe it was Xbox, but see, I was a PlayStation player as well, so I didn't realize there was a second one.
I don't think there was. I think there was speculation about one.
Xbox. You can buy it for $58 from the original Xbox.
eBay. Yeah, so I did... Yeah, I was sure I'd seen it before. I think I saw it when I was like... But there must have been something else that I wanted to rent more or something.
I did play it probably 10 years too late. I wasn't super impressed with it. I'm sure someone loved it. I'm sure it wasn't a bad game in and of itself. I did play a little bit of the multiplayer at some point. It was okay. So, I mean...
Multiplayer? That would have been years ago.
Yeah, it was one of those. It's a single player game.
Fancy kids that could get on the internet.
No, I went to a LAN party.
Oh, okay.
It was at Ascension back in the day.
Ah, yes. Okay, so like a computer LAN.
Computer lab, yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on from that, and feel free to shout at us in the comments if you loved any of these games or hated them
or think we're idiots.
Which we probably are, and that's what I'm saying. I don't have a whole lot of experience with many of these games until we get to The Force Unleashed, and I did play this one. I feel like I didn't play it all the way through, but most of the way, mainly because we were using cheats, because cheats were fun back in the day.
Where did you get up to? Tell me what the last thing you remember is. Did you see him get crushed with the ship and the Death Star?
I don't know.
Fight Vader.
My memory is so bad. When was that game released? Too long ago. And
I was in high school, so you were in very young high school.
What I was doing was I was having fun with cheat codes and got to a point and we went to save it, and then the game said you cannot save because you have... Well, it doesn't say that, but when we went to load it back up, and then we were like, what the hell? Where's our save? We were so far into this game. I was playing it with Brendan. And then,
I did the exact same thing.
Then we go to put the cheat codes back in, and it says, warning, if you want to put these cheats in, you will not be able to save any progress. Any progress will be lost. We didn't read that when we were kids. We were just like, yeah, whatever, spam, let's play.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if you want to feel like a master in that game, you play with cheat codes.
You do. I did do that the same.
So you're not spoiling anything for me if you want to talk about this game, because I know how much you like this game.
Story-wise, from a single-player experience, it's probably one of the better experiences I've had. It's very much a gaps and silences story.
I think it's a very interesting story, like from what I remember of it. Tried to play it again recently with Ada when it came free with gold probably a year or so ago now.
Not that long, but yeah.
Yeah, and it was terrible. Very hard to play.
Because when it first came out, it was very... the technical aspect of it was brilliant. It was like groundbreaking, for me at least. It hasn't held up.
Yes.
the story itself still holds up.
Yeah, the story, like, when I got in and I was like, I saw the stuff, I was like, man, this is such a cool, like, concept and story.
It was very early QuickTime Event era,
Yes.
and it just used them to death.
Yes.
Like,
because it was trying to make, like, cool cinematic scenes and
which
whatnot.
it did do, but I think at the expense of gameplay.
Yeah, like, because I could play the first mission countless times where you just go through as Vader. Like, the first part, like, the prologue, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you're Vader and you're, like, going through just killing Wookiees and stuff. That was incredible. But there was, like, no QTEs or anything
Until you got to
really.
the last fight.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and then, like, once you start to get into it and it's, like, sort of using the Force to do stuff and then QTEs, like, it was okay, but...
You
Like-
felt...
Like, back when I first played it, felt incredible. Because that was the best of its time. But now it's very hard to... I find a lot of these games hard to go back to.
I would love to see that as, you know, one of these new, you know, Star Wars stories
Yeah.
outside of Star Wars.
Oh,
I've-
you mean, like, in movies?
I would love... I think it would actually translate very well.
I think it
to
could,
a
yeah.
movie. It has been done. Like, the story, the concept has been done. Not in Star Wars, not with the Secret Apprentice and all that. I feel like it could be a very good action movie within the Star Wars
Yeah,
universe.
no, that sounds cool.
It will never happen, but I feel like it.
I agree.
I would like to see it. I
Yep.
liked Starkiller as it. I liked him a lot better than most of the characters in the movies. To be honest, he had, for what he was, he had a lot more personality than
Yeah.
Luke or Leia
Yep.
or anyone like that.
And then we have The Force Unleashed 2.
I felt in a lot of ways it improved the story. Like, technically, it improved a lot. It's a lot easier to play than Force.
I don't think I played Force Unleashed 2. I don't remember playing
It had a lot of problems. The main problem being it was incredibly short. The story, it naturally did what it did, and the story, as they had it in the game, couldn't have been any longer. It's more so your classic revenge story.
Yeah.
Or, well, it becomes your classic revenge story at the end. It sort of starts off as something else. But I feel like it didn't have the same direction that the first one had. It fell down in story, but it picked it up in technical aspect for me, honestly. I really did like that game. It's unfortunate that it didn't do enough to get a third installment, because I feel like the way they left it off would have been very interesting for a third installment.
And then we come to what I would sort of call some of the golden era in Star Wars games. The original Battlefront games, so 2004. And I looked it up, 2005. So was there only a year gap between the two?
There wasn't long.
I'm very surprised
I feel like
by
it was
that.
beginning of 2004 and end of 2005.
I'm just surprised because, like, the two games are very different. Like, they're same concept, but, like, when I look at Battlefront 2, I see a lot more polished version of Battlefront.
It was... See, the original Battlefront... There's actually a lot of things in the original Battlefront I like better than the second one.
Agreed. And I think plenty of people...
That being said, yeah, the second one was far better game. My favourite thing of the original Battlefront, and it's something no one has ever done, is multiple maps on the same planet. This concept of you can only have one map per
I don't
planet.
get that. I don't get that. Like, I would play a Star Wars game that was Assassin's Creed like, and it was just on one planet. Like, I like the ability to go to different places, sure. But, like, if you're gonna tell me that I can do a whole thing on Naboo, and that's like a whole world where I just live there and explore and do things, like, cool, yeah, I'll do that. I'll run around the sand. I did it with Assassin's Creed.
Naboo's not the sand place.
Not Naboo, sorry, that's Mos Eisley, right?
Yeah, because in the original Battlefront, you had the Mos Eisley, now iconic Mos Eisley map, because it's the exact same fucking map in the second game.
Yes.
And you can see elements of it in this new... I mean, Mos Eisley is Mos Eisley. But it had the Sarlacc pit area as the second map.
Yes.
And that was a completely different experience, with Sarlacc ripping people into its mouth bits. You know, you had the Battle of Theed in Naboo, which again is carried through, is even in the new one. But you also had the Gungan area, the fight with the Gungans. You had,
You know what I've just realised? In Battlefront 2, and I'm not sure if it's just that we haven't experienced it yet, new Battlefront 2, 2017, there's, like, when you've got the Galactic Assaults, there's no, like, way to do any linking with the air fighters or anything, is there? Like, onto the AT-ATs. Like, you can't take them down.
I haven't even been to Hoth.
Well, I don't think there is there?
I don't think there's a Hoth.
I don't think there's a Hoth, but I mean, like, even so, you should still be able to do it on, like, Theed or... Oh, wait, it's not AT-AT on Theed. What?
It's an MTT, but you can attack it with the bomber. Assuming you get that far without getting blown up. But it feels...
But you can't attack it until it's been hit with the ion cannon.
No, but what I noticed, which it didn't have, in the original 2 didn't actually have air combat on the ground maps. You could jump in the vehicles were sitting there, you could use the STPs, I think you could use the snow fighters, it's like the snow speeders on Hoth.
Because on Hoth you could take down the AT-ATs with your
that was really the only place where it had any sort of aerial, maybe one Kashyyyk and stuff. I don't feel like it was in every map. But in the new one, it feels very disjointed. When you jump into a fighter or something on a ground assault map, it feels like you're in a different world.
Well, the thing I noticed on recently when we were playing on Mos Eisley in the new one was that, like, we had a game where there was some people dominating the sky. They were doing really well shooting us down. But when I got up into the ship and tried to take them down, it felt really... weird. Like, it didn't feel good because there's no AI up in the sky. So I looked across and there's the two people that are dominating and me. And it felt empty. Like, it felt empty because
there's nothing flying around
in the sky. Which, whatever, that's fine. Whatever, it's weird, but it's fine. But then other than that, they've built it like a map. So you fly away and it feels like there's just nothing else around. Which I'm sure on Mos Eisley there's probably not much there. It's probably a lot of sand, but it just felt
even
like...
on Theed, it feels exactly... You can see some pretty painted backgrounds, but it's not... There's nothing there.
Which, I mean, I'm not faulting... I'm not saying you have to go and build a whole world or whatnot, but, like, it just... Like, for some reason in the older games, when it would have been, like, a actual border in your world, then it would have been hard, like, you... can't go here, or once you go out, which they probably still have there. If you go out, you get blown up or whatnot.
It's just the sky map is bigger than the ground map, which is fine. But yeah, it felt more connected. Because I also don't get killed when I'm on the ground. I don't get killed by people in the sky. It doesn't feel like... I mean, I'm sure people do. I'm sure people are, doing strafing runs, bombing runs, all that shit. I don't feel it. It's not. It was almost like there's a complete disconnect.
That was the only map that I felt that I was getting destroyed by someone in the sky was when those two guys were just.
But only when you're in a vehicle or something. Like
no, I was just running along and getting destroyed. But that's the only reason I went up, because I thought, these guys are just taking out dudes as they're running through spawn.
I wasn't experiencing that. I mean, but the other thing is you can't attack the ground from the sky. The sky from the ground.
Well, you can, but it's not easy.
But no one has a rocket launcher.
No. Well, you can't do much.
No one has, which I find
damage.
Is in any sort of military engagement, particularly on the Empire
unless
side.
You're a rocket trooper or...
But then it's not a lock-on. You don't have a anti-air. It's not even very much an anti-ground. And you have to unlock it. None of the squad, like the actual troopers... have one.
Yes. It's very basic class system where there's not a whole lot of customization. It feels like
it's a backstep from 2005, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back and look at that, I mean, there were specialty classes in that, which you did have to earn a few points to get.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that would argue that they like the old Battlefronts more. And then just obviously speaking on that, there's the 2015 version of Battlefront, again, which obviously didn't go down well because it didn't have enough content, and I mean, more so for us, you couldn't get into a game after
a month. It'll
be
be interesting to see if all the hype around Last Jedi actually increases that because it's an
I don't think so.
It's a different release because Force Awakens released and then Battlefront released. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like it would have been November.
I feel
because
didn't feel like there was, but regardless there was no.
Because I think it was earlier because then later on they introduced the Jakku map. The Jakku map. Remember that was later on. That wasn't on launch, and then Rogue One was the following year.
They didn't release anything that was really.
Yeah, like they could have released.
They released Jakku, but even in Jakku, you weren't playing Resistance and First Order. You were playing Empire.
Yeah,
and they didn't do much with it. I feel like they're doing a lot more with Last Jedi than they did with.
I feel like what they did was when they originally built Battlefront 2, 2017 version of Battlefront 2, I think they said, okay, what did we stuff up last time? Content. They want more content. They want it for free. They don't want to have to pay for a season pass or that sort of thing, which then they went down the microtransaction road for the income instead. But they mapped out the content very well. I would say over this next year we'll get a lot more content and a lot better content than we saw with the original Battlefront.
I hope
which will be good, but I don't know if we'll have the player base.
I think we're going to get spikes in player base.
I don't think Last Jedi is going to increase sales at all. I don't.
Sales.
I think people are going to be hyped for the movie, but not give a shit about Battlefront.
If you want Battlefront, you already have Battlefront. Unless you're waiting
for it to be super cheap,
which it's already cheap.
Yeah.
If you want, and if you're waiting too much longer, it's not worth buying because you're not going to be able to get a game.
The other thing is you're going to come into it and it's going to be worse than what you were worried about with pay to win because people have been grinding, and not only do they have all of the shit,
they have the skills.
They are good at the game.
I mean, I look at you playing the Starfighter Assault, and you've got that practice. I mean,
which comes from playing the campaign.
Yeah, and you've done that, and you've earned that skill, but you are significantly better than me at it. And I feel like it is one of those games, particularly...
You're going to come in, if you wait another 3 months, well, even a month, you're going to come in and you're going to die on spawn in those sorts of games.
Oh, just because the weapon progress is so few and far between, there's not that many. It's kind of annoying in the Star Wars universe to have that fewer guns.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is what it is. It is very much a game of playing over and over.
Just grind first.
Yeah. And it's very discouraging to new players. It's not, which is something we really in 2017 should be able to fix.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a hard thing to challenge just because there's always going to be people that want to play it casually, want to just jump in and play, and there's always going to be super competitive people But I don't know how you tackle it. I think that's one of the harder things to do in a game.
Yeah, some people...
I mean, obviously you can take away that progression system and have more of a battle royale or more of a even playing field. You can do that, but I mean, I'm not saying make every game battle royale. That's not what I'm saying. But if you put it to, you don't get rewarded for playing the game more. You just go in and play the game as it is and how it's intended to be played. Maybe? I don't know. I mean... People like being rewarded. Reward them with cosmetics. They can't do that here.
I mean, Siege has done it well. They can't do it there because it's not set up that way. The type of game that it is doesn't lend itself to that.
I mean, look at the original Battlefront. They obviously tried it... Not 2004. God, this is annoying. 2015 Battlefront. Remember all the customization you could do to your character? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I didn't do any of it.
Either did I, but they had it set up where it was trying to reward people that played for longer by unlocking different
heads, different skins, different...
Which nobody gave a shit about.
No, because you're wearing a helmet most of the time
mainly
anyway.
Also because it was super grindy to get that stuff, I remember. I didn't have any of it because I'm not sure if you had to do challenges or there was something.
It wasn't easy to get.
And it wasn't like... You played a match, here, have something, as a reward for playing, or you've completed 5 matches, here, have a reward, Rocket League and all those other games do that a lot better.
Yeah, the more I play it, the more I look at it, the more I see it as a missed opportunity.
Yes.
For gaming in general and for Star Wars. It's just, it could have been more than what it is. And that disappoints me. Just because I'm so attached to the series, the worlds. It just feels like it should have been better. And the fact that it's not is really annoying.
Yeah. You ever played any Lego games?
I have played the original trilogy Lego game, which actually came out second. I've got the full saga there.
Mm-hmm. It was free with gold.
It was free with gold at some stage. I've played the demo of Force Awakens, Nemo Outpost.
It's pretty good.
That was actually quite good. It's interesting to see where they started to where they ended up. Where they are with Lego games is amazing. It is phenomenal.
That was the one thing that when I played that demo, I haven't purchased it because I'm not really into the Lego games, but I noticed, I was like, wow, this feels like more of a game than any Lego game I've ever played. There was mechanics to it. Like, it wasn't just breaking blocks and
building blocks. It was... I liked it.
Like, you jumped onto the gun and then your perspective changed and you were shooting up at ships and things. Like, it was just different.
Yeah, and looking at the Marvel games look amazing as well. Off topic here. But, no, I didn't really play it. I feel like it's retelling either the same story or it's not really
Lego
telling
games,
a story at all.
Lego games to me aren't super interesting. I just wanted to put them in there because I think they've done a good job.
They've done a good job of making what it is their own. Yes,
so I think like it's good from a Lego standpoint, but as for if you're wanting a super engaging, immersive story, you're not going to get that from... Like, you might get some funny moments where they do a recall to the movies by doing something stupid with Lego, which is funny, but I don't know, it's not... It's good to play with maybe a niece and nephew or something like that. Like,
it's not it's not a game you play if you want to game. It's a game you play if you want to just muck around and have fun.
So if I'm to be honest, through all those games that we just discussed, I definitely played Star Wars Battlefront the most, the 2004 release. Therefore, it probably is my favorite. But the thing I always keep in mind when I'm thinking about this is I played that with Brendan sitting like beside each other, basically playing arcade mode.
See, that's not relevant. In the grand scheme of things, you enjoyed it for your own reasons. Whatever those reasons are, be it the game, be it the people you're with, be it the situation you're in, that's shaped your perspective, made you enjoy it. I don't think that is discounted because you had someone else there. I mean, a lot of these are single player experiences, but you could have played it with someone sitting there.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I'm always worried when I'm being critical of the new Battlefront game when I'm not playing it the way that I played the old game.
I don't think it matters.
Which is, the interesting thing is that I sat down and in the original, not the original, but the new release of Battlefront in 2015, you could play arcade mode with someone online, which you can't do in Battlefront 2 for some reason.
It's 2017. Play split screen. No one's going to do that.
Split screen's the only option. However, I played Battlefront 2015 version with Brendan online arcade because we were just testing to see if we could do a video or something in it. I didn't enjoy it. Like, it was something about gameplay just wasn't as interesting as the first one. Like, the first one, we were fighting to see who would get those titles at the end of a map, like who would take home the stupid awards and like the best awards. And then also like just the way that vehicles worked were a lot better. Like, obviously Battlefront 2 has improved on Battlefront, which was the tokens, which were stupid,
but still
not, there's stuff on the map that you can go to and just jump into. Like, it just doesn't feel authentic.
It's 2017 again. I mean, even the new Last Battlefield didn't have vehicles on the map.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because Hardline did.
Yeah.
I feel like...
they were on the map, but you still had to select to spawn in it.
You did, yeah, but it was...
But you didn't have to purchase it with points. You just had to choose it.
Yeah. I feel like they should be there on the map. I mean, I get what they're doing.
You know what they should do? Put them on the map and then say... You only get the keys to unlock this once you get to a certain amount of battle points.
No.
At least then it's there, and it's like, I've earned this, I can get in, rather than some jerk in front of you just spawning in and jumping into it.
And that is exactly why they've done what they've done in both these games. Is they wanted well, actually no. In the first one, it was just you could just go to the token and get it. It didn't matter.
Be the Jedi.
It was just as soon as you got there. But this one, I feel like they're trying to make you earn it, but also make it fair that everyone has the same opportunity to get one. It's not just, you have to spawn near it.
This is funny. If they're trying to make the game fair, they've got it unbalanced already because of star cards and everything. Like, it's not making a fair experience. It's making the better players rewarded. Which is fine, reward the good players, but does that mean you take the fun away from the people that are just there to have a casual...
What I'm really trying to say is they're trying to make who gets a vehicle, who gets to have the full experience. Well, fairer in some ways, and fuck you if you aren't actually a good gamer. And because I'm one of those players that struggles to get 8,000 points in a match, so I'm very unlikely to ever play.
Which is why I said to you when we first started playing it, and I went through the system with you, I said, purchase the crates for the trooper, because you're going to spend most of your time being a trooper.
You are.
Don't worry about the hero crates, because you've got some heroes there, and if you get in, you don't care about staying the hero the whole time. You just want to go and beat up on some people, and then you've had your fun. Like, you're not worried about being the best.
I want to be the best.
You want to be... Okay, sorry.
There ever was.
Sorry, Sith Lord. Anyway, this isn't supposed to be a Battlefront 2 podcast. It's just, we have some, obviously, stuff we want to...
We're bitter and twisted, and it's all EA's fault.
And
actually,
what can we do for the future of Star Wars games? This is what
Make a good game. Is probably the answer to that question.
So, there's been some cancelled products, I guess, whatever.
Well, it was
projects. Cancelled projects.
1313 really hurt.
So Star Wars 1313. Did you know anything about this? Did you watch the?
I watched
gameplay?
the trailer. I knew a little bit of gameplay bits. I knew a little bit about it. It was going to take place on Coruscant level 1313. It was later revealed, probably a little too late to save it, to be honest. I mean, it was cancelled, I think, more because of Disney's purchase of the license than... Oh, not license, the brand than anything else. You were originally actually going to play as a young Boba Fett, which would have been very interesting.
Yeah, so you're basically like a bounty hunter sort of.
Yeah, you were escorting a prisoner and you got shot down, I believe, and you're trying to survive in level 1313.
Yeah.
There was probably more to the story that would have been revealed. The gameplay we were showed looked amazing. Just the world.
Back then it did. I watched it this morning. It doesn't look great now, but obviously games are going to change. Like, it would have been great for when it was released.
Yeah, looking at it from a 2013 lens, it looked great. It played great. I assume I didn't feel it, but it looked like it played well. It looked interesting. Yeah. It almost looked a little like, your Assassin's Creed, your single player running around your open worldy bit.
A little bit more linear from what I saw, but I mean...
I think it would have been more linear, but I feel like you would have had at least the run of Coruscant's underbelly.
Yeah.
It would have been very fun to play, very interesting to play.
So that game was cancelled back in 2013 when obviously Disney
took over.
Acquired Star Wars. And then just recently, most people probably already know the news of Visceral Games shutting down, or EA shutting them down just this year, just a couple of months ago, or whenever it was. And they were currently in the production of a game similar to Star Wars 1313, which it had a linear single-player story. But then in the release, when they said that Visceral Games was going to be closing down, was that they sort of found that they didn't want to make a linear single-player story because they didn't think that gamers wanted that anymore. They obviously
we kind of do.
They're obviously not paying attention super hardcore to the Witchers of the world.
Witcher, Assassin's Creed.
So anyway, they decided that what they want to make is more of an open world multiplayer experience, which really sounds something more like what Destiny is.
Which would be fun.
Probably will be fun. Also easier to monetize.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which makes sense for what they're going to do. And I have no problem with game developers trying to monetize their game. Wow. They do a lot of work. They need to be paid for their work. And maybe the $60 or $100 that you pay for the game isn't fully covering it, but they need to make smarter decision as to how they're going to monetize things rather than just throwing in loot boxes, throwing in microtransactions that people don't actually care about. They need to sit down with gamers. Like, there's a lot of influencers in gamers nowadays.
You don't even need to sit down with them. Sit down in front of a computer, grab some popcorn, watch YouTube. Sit down, watch Let's Plays, watch something.
Go on to Twitch, watch some streamers.
Will tell you what they want.
Yep. And they'll tell you what they don't want. Like, listen to what they bitch about.
Well,
don't do that.
This is a very small example of that. I mean, there are much bigger people with much more followers doing exactly what we're doing now. Just sit and watch. Sit and listen.
Yep.
Take from it what you will. Hopefully the right things. Learn from what you've done and we'll reward you.
This game's still in progress. So I guess 1313 is cancelled, but this is similar to it from what we know. Oh, what they were making was similar.
That they had actually rolled some of 1313 into it.
Yeah.
Like it had taken concepts, other bits of 1313, but like cannibalized it a little bit to make it. Because I think, wasn't Visceral making 1313? I feel like it was
maybe
a similar
they
group,
were, or maybe I don't know. But anyway, so I think this could be good if they continue to make it. I don't know what to make of expectations for these sorts of things nowadays, because Battlefront's re-release should have been excellent.
It should, even if they had just, and we've said it multiple times, if they had just prettied up Battlefront 1 or 2. 2 I would have preferred just because of the technical aspects that progressed from 1 to 2. If you had just prettied that up, made it run slightly smoother for a 2015 audience, you would have sold massive amounts. I would have thrown money at you in microtransactions.
I also think people would have been playing it up till Battlefront 2 came out.
There would have been a shitload. Yeah, it would have been a lot more. You would have kept your player base a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. It was disappointing on all accounts.
And in the day and age of first-person shooters being popular, look at PUBG, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege. If you make a game that's good enough and popular enough, it can get into esports and can build a community. Esports is becoming bigger and bigger. Why not make something that can go into that realm and your community will live on? It seems like they've tried to just go, Star Wars, people like Star Wars, buy Star Wars.
No.
We want to play, gamers want to play good games. And trust me, Star Wars fans that like the movies don't all play games as well.
A significant portion of them don't. I mean, and a lot of them are actually older people.
So, anyway, we bitch about it a lot. This is just a bitching, ranting
it's all
podcast.
We do.
This one's a bit longer because obviously we like this. We like the Star Wars, and so Scott, now this is going to be a bit of a fake conversation between you and I, like most of them. But we discussed.
Yeah, we actually don't know each other in real life. I have no idea who he is.
I just drag him into my house. Yeah, you should really stop walking down that street every Thursday night. So, EA holds the license supposedly until 2023. So they purchased a license for 10 years from 2013, which is when 1313 was cancelled. Such a great time, wasn't it? So there's actually, I've seen some petitions recently for Disney to take the license away from
That's
them.
not actually very... If Disney could do that, it would have taken X-Men from Fox, Spider-Man from Sony, Fantastic Four from whoever the fuck holds that.
Well, we don't necessarily know what's in the contract.
We don't.
But you would assume it would be pretty binding until that time limit.
There would have to be some pretty major fuck-ups to lose the license.
Yeah, I mean, Battlefront 2 was a pretty major fuck-up, but wasn't enough, I don't know.
No.
Did it still sell? Yes.
I feel like it's definitely hurt their chances of keeping the license post 2023.
The thing I worry more about than them keeping the license is them continuing to make good games, which, I mean, I can't really think of many examples of EA games that I'm super in love with and continue to play today or
there
recently.
have been games that I have loved, not necessarily keep playing, because that's not the title. Mass Effect is one. I mean, it's BioWare. It was published by EA. It was amazing. Dragon Age, up until the third one. I'm not super fan of the third one. Brilliant game, still massively highly regarded by me. But they haven't done anything recently that has grabbed
I mean,
me
obviously
and
they're sports titles. People like them and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're not those sorts of people.
That has
However, when we did decide to take the plunge and buy Battlefront 2 at a extraordinarily cheap price, in my mind I was thinking, God, I hope that this helps Anthem. That was the one and maybe it won't, but I'm just thinking.
Well, I think they're not going to lose it.
Well, I'm not saying that they're going to lose Anthem, but it's like any business. You stuff something up and lose money somewhere, you're not going to have that money to put somewhere else. Like if they're paying off a huge bill to to Disney for the Star Wars license, and they're like, oh, well, we've got to make some cuts somewhere else. Maybe not entirely cut the game, but if we get lesser of a game, I don't know. I don't know how far through that game is. I don't know where it's at. I don't think it's releasing next year. They have said 2018, but I reckon probably 2019.
I reckon it's getting pushed. I
100% don't believe it's out next year. And if it is, they've been working on it a lot longer and have kept their mouths shut. Because it looked good. It looked really good, but I don't know how much is in there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do and what they do. I would kind of like to see someone with a strong single-player, story-driven background take it. I mean...
So this is just before we go here. I should start a new segment on this podcast called Dylan's Fantasyland. Because I always go into these rants towards the end of an episode where I say, look, just throw everything out the window. And what if, in my fantasy land, this were to happen? So, in the fantasy land, which isn't, I mean, it's not super fantasy. They might lose the license after 2023 or whatever. Or maybe they'll throw it away because they don't want to deal with it anymore because they've decided it's caused them more heartache than they've earned from it.
It all depends on what they do in the next 5 years.
I think it depends on what they do outside Battlefront because obviously Battlefront has been a failure. What else can they do with Star Wars to bring it back?
Battlefront could be good if you learn the right lessons.
Battlefront's lost cause. They're not making a Battlefront 3.
They won't. I don't think they can. I'm just saying, if you had learned the right lessons from the first one, you could have made a good Battlefront 2.
I think Battlefront is now a lost cause. So, they lose the license, or give it up, however that goes down. Does anyone take it on? And if someone takes it on, who's your pick to take it on?
I don't know whether... See, I would like to see Disney in-house. They do...
You want to go back to the LucasArts days?
Scroll back up to that list.
Yeah.
Look at everything LucasArts days. I mean, it's not LucasArts.
There was a lot of EA involvement in that
There
stuff
actually was
as
a
well.
shitload, which is why EA probably got the license.
Yes, they obviously
and there's a lot of
knew what they were doing.
BioWare and
Yes.
everything else. I would like to see someone with a good story-driven take it. I would love to see Telltale Games.
I would not like to
Star
see
Wars.
Telltale games.
Telltale Games won't do it because they don't have the money to take the license.
That and I just think what I want to see from Star Wars is such an immersive galaxy, universe, whatever you want to call it. I think to narrow that down into such a linear game, especially in the days of, look at No Man's Sky, even though it's not a great example, being able to fly from one planet to another in the technology that we have now, why box us into such a linear story? Like playing through the Battlefront 2 campaign, the new Battlefront 2 campaign, if that was released in 2012, it would have been incredible. Because it would have been what we were used to, and it would have been incredibly fun. And I mean, graphics obviously are way past that time, but it's just, to me, it feels really old. Like, I don't buy a game generally if it's super linear anymore, just because, like,
They don't
we've
make
had
linear.
games like The Witcher and Assassins, going back to it, like, it's very hard to break away from the let me play in my sandbox. GTA, like,
That would be my ultimate fantasy is
Rockstar.
Rockstar could do it. Rockstar has a very good track record of sandbox games,
I don't
but
think
still
Rockstar could.
with a single player focus.
I don't
Look at
think Rockstar could pull
GTA
it off.
5 or Red Dead Redemption. I don't think they would do it justice. I was going to say CD Projekt Red.
Ooh, that's interesting.
They are working on a sci-fi game,
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk. Pumped for that. Quantic Dream could do something,
I
but they don't think they've got the...
No, I think CD Projekt Red is too small of a team to take on something like that because of the ambitious projects that they already do, and I don't think they're the type of developer that would like to be bogged down in something that wasn't their own world, that they had restrictions on. And that's where it gets very hard with making games, I think, is because game creators are incredible. Like, they have, like... This is why I think we're so excited about Anthem, is because it's not related to anything. EA, BioWare, whoever's making it, has free reign. If they want to put a custom skins in for something, they can do it. They can do whatever. They're not restricted in their monetization. They're not restricted in how they make a level. Star Wars is kind of sucks. And I don't know if that's Disney's fault. I don't know.
Oh, LucasArts probably... See, it did most of it itself, so it probably restricted its own people. But
as much as we were bagging on... Now, we will wrap up very shortly because we're well over time now.
See ya.
But as much as we sort of went off about it, but Shadow of War, like, I feel like the Middle Earth stuff isn't even as tightly held back as it probably should be.
Oh, it definitely should have been. It fucking should have been.
But
do not get me started on what should have been held back in that game.
Next week's episode. So
how much Scott really doesn't like what they did in Shadow of War.
So yeah, I don't know. I think anyway, my pick was Bethesda. I
hadn't considered them.
I think if Bethesda was to, and I think it's much what I just said. I don't think they would like to be tied down because they're very creative in the way that they make games. And if someone above was telling them you can't do this, I don't think they would cope well.
It would be interesting to see him do it.
Because they would, if you took a Skyrim approach and you had a game where there is this story, but you can also, you're a bounty hunter or whatnot, you can go and do whatever mission, side mission. Maybe there's the bounty hunter clan, there's all these other clans or whatnot that you can go to. I know you're having a bit of a wet dream right now, but
no, I'm about to stab you because you said clan.
Well, whatever.
But
so if you can go through and do whatever you want, like pick a path, like they would get to a point in the side quest where they would say something they weren't allowed to say or do something they weren't, and they'd be like, "We're making the game. Like this is how we want to make the game." And I feel like there'd be too many headbutts.
Yeah, it depends.
What word did you want me to say other than clan? Sorry.
Oh, guild, I think is what they use, or anything other than clan. That just sounds really weird.
Look, I'm a Call of Duty player. Look at me.
No, you're not. Show us those thumbs.
I got my clans.
You ain't played Call of Duty with those thumbs in a long time.
Anyway, let's wrap up, Scott. Anything else you want to put on that? How long is this? This is way too long.
Bernie, Burn it down.
We're looking forward to The Last Jedi.
We are. That's going.
We should probably leave this podcast thing and buy some tickets.
Yeah, watch this space. Last Jedi is going to be amazing.
It's going to be good. We'll
when we're in 2 weeks' time when we're that pissed off because it's terrible, come back to us and link it to us and just say your predictions, guys.
Yeah, probably stuffed everything up, but whatever. Unless Kylo does die.
I don't think he's going to die.
Anyway.
I think he's just going to get further and further maimed as the movie goes on and just be like a head in a jar by the end.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode of Friendly Fire. Hope you've enjoyed. Let us know your Star Wars predictions and fears in the comments. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.